So welcome to the world of Ethereum spot ETFs. Is it what you expected the spot ETF market for Ethereum to be? Or, like a lot of others, are you maybe disappointed with the performance so far? Now, the ETH ETFs only launched in July of this year, 2024. It's only been a few months. To be fair, there is going to be some more time that they'll need to fully mature and develop along with the rest of the market. However, this was kind of meant to be the honeymoon period. And despite that initial enthusiasm that we saw for the ETH spot ETFs, the numbers just haven't lived up to that hype, and it's actually been pretty disappointing according to the metrics. Unfortunately, outflows dominate over inflows. By the way, this is in contrast to BTC spot ETFs, where we have the inverse relationship. Inflows are far greater than outflows. So the situation right now is not ideal, that's to be fair, but let's take a deeper dive into the numbers and the statistics and really get a better understanding of why the ETH spot ETF situation is so lackluster. Welcome one and all to the channel. You guys know the drill. My name is Maddie. This is Altcoin Buzz, and I wish you well. Be sure to remember that I'm not a financial or investment advisor, and that also means that this video is not official financial or investment advice. Let's start by placing the development of the ETH spot ETF into proper perspective. To do so, it's probably a good idea to look back at how all of this spot ETF business came into being. Enter the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, which of course we know is not exactly the most crypto-friendly of US government institutions. Nonetheless, in a surprise move earlier this year in January, it approved, the SEC that is, approved BTC spot ETFs. This is a move that also spurred interest in an ETH spot ETF. And probably no surprise here, since of course Ethereum is the second biggest asset as measured by market cap in crypto after Bitcoin. So of course, as a result of the BTC spot ETF approval, both BTC and ETH rallied. Ethereum went from $2,219 on the 26th of January to over $4,000 on March 12th. And then BTC had a similar rally from $39,938 to, of course, its now new all-time high. That was on the 14th of March, $73,737. However, subsequent to that, of course, both projects lost a lot of steam. The current price of ETH, as I record, sits below $2,400. Ethereum actually lost even more ground than Bitcoin. But back now to the SEC, because in an even more surprising move in May of this year, they approved no less than 9 ETH spot ETF funds. And these began trading, like I said, in July of 2024. As you probably know, but if not, that's okay, a spot ETF is a regulated investment tool, and it basically allows you to trade in the underlying asset that we're talking about here without having to own it. In this case, it happens to be crypto, but that applies to whatever. And it's especially applicable to crypto because that can be convenient. If you buy a spot ETF, you don't need a crypto wallet. And for many people that want to involve themselves at arm's length in this market, you know, it can be a hurdle to learn the ins and outs of wallets and all that. So this is actually a nice shortcut that a lot of, again, traditional, let's call them investors, can use to gain exposure to cryptocurrency. There's also no need to hold the underlying asset here because the spot ETF fund manager holds that asset. So for example, if they sell for $100 million worth of ETH spot ETFs, then they need to hold at least $100 million of Ethereum. It's like collateral. And so spot ETFs tend to target institutions. That's good news. And at the same time, retail investors can also buy into spot ETFs. Now, there are a bunch of reasons to consider here as to why Ethereum spot ETFs are slow. First of all, when it comes to staking, you can stake ETH and receive anywhere from 1 to 5% APY on your staked Ethereum. However, you cannot stake an ETH spot ETF. So ETH spot ETF holders lose out quite a bit in terms of this extra passive income. That's just by default. Another consideration is the ETH BTC chart, which is down about 50% over the last 2 years. We're also observing decreased user activity. Many former Ethereum users have simply moved to L2s or other cheaper and faster layer 1s. Just take a look at the Sol ETH chart, which is up in the last year by 348%. ETH is now also, unfortunately, inflationary. Of course, it was deflationary for a while, but not anymore, not officially. Ethereum mints more ETH than it burns. And as you know, the ETH max supply has no limit, meaning if there's enough demand, ETH can just mint more in order to meet that demand. This, of course, is in contrast to Bitcoin, which has a finite supply and a fixed supply of 21 million BTC. Ethereum also recently saw the proto-dank sharding upgrade. This reduced layer 2 transaction fees even more. And as a result, Ethereum generates less in terms of revenue. We also have ETH Spot ETF outflows, which I've already mentioned. This just means there's a net deficit between in and outflows. So clearly there's a lot going on with Ethereum. It's not all positive news, and it also doesn't help if Vitalik Buterin transfers 800 ETH worth $2 million US to a multi-sig wallet, because of course that raises even more questions and speculation as to why he would do that. Altcoin Buzz is now available in Discord. You can be a part of us now by joining the chat, where you can research and identify your next big move in crypto. You're also going to get free alpha content just for joining. Check out the link you can find in the description of this video below. So let's ask the question here. Is the Ethereum Spot ETF a failure? Now, I just listed off a whole bunch of reasons as to why the Spot ETF is probably as slow as it has been. The main indicator, of course, is the in and outflow in all the 9 funds. We actually see a net negative inflow of 477 million USD. However, the main culprit here is the Grayscale Ethereum Trust. That's ETHE. That fund alone has a negative outflow of 2.56 billion USD. If we consider all the other 8 fund managers, they actually all have positive inflows. So on average, yes, it's negative, but really that's only because of this one outlier. Looking at the other 8 funds, actually, they cumulatively have a positive net inflow of $2.083 billion. So it's pretty shocking when you consider that the Grayscale Ethereum Trust really is responsible for those negative statistics, as I've reported. But that's how it is. That's how math works. That's how it averages out. So what exactly is the reason for this massive outflow in terms of the Grayscale Ethereum Trust? It's actually pretty simple. Grayscale's fee is 2.5%. That is 10 times more than the next most expensive fee. All other fees range between 0.15% and 0.25%. People and institutions tend to choose not with their feet, but with their wallets, right? But in the context of what I've just explained, let's get back to that question here. Can we actually label the ETH Spot ETF a failure? Well, in consideration of the analytics that we've looked at here, that would probably be a premature conclusion. Okay, so for example, we saw the Black Monday event in early August. ETH lost around $100 million from its market cap, and its price has been struggling really since mid-March. Nevertheless, demand for the ETH Spot ETF has remained solid, and of course many see this as a long-term success indicator. It is entirely possible that these ETH Spot ETFs could be slow burners. If you get rid of all the noise and the nasty market conditions, there are actually some metrics that would indicate they're performing kind of well. So I don't want to be over flowery here. I want to concede certainly that there are problems with Ethereum and the state of the project. We've discussed them here, but those problems should not be enough to black pill you when it comes to Ethereum, its totality, its entirety as a project. There's still a lot to be excited and enthusiastic about here. And in my opinion, it is entirely too soon to judge the ETH Spot ETFs as a failure. We've got to let this run a little bit further at least. But that's my take. Let me know what you think about Ethereum and the ETH Spot ETFs. Maybe you believe they are a failure. I can certainly understand that point of view, but I would perhaps urge you to have a little bit more patience. I think we need a little bit more time here as this unfolds and as this weird kind of bull market continues to mature. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comments below.